With this tremendous beauty, this alpine environment, comes the risk of catastrophic wildfire.
We're in a race against time. It's not a matter of if the next fire happens, but when.
The fire moves in, the water system can get overwhelmed.
There's no worse feeling when you're on the end of the nozzle as a firefighter and you are 800, 1,000, 2,000 feet away from your engine on a hose lay, and you get the call on the radio that, hey, I have to shut you down because we're out of water. So you're making progress, you're putting it out, you're about to contain this thing, and then all of a sudden it's done. That fire is going to keep running right up this hill.
In areas that don't have fire hydrants, we use our water tender, and it has 2,600 gallons of water. We'll use anywhere from 150 to 200 gallons per line pumping on any type of structure fire. So if we can do the math, it's only less than 5 minutes.
The Tahoe City Public Utility District provides domestic drinking water and sewer collection services, as well as parks and recreation services to a good portion of the North and West Shore, extending all the way down to Emerald Bay on the West Shore.
So the North Tahoe PUD was formed in 1948. Fast forward to 1968, the community pushed the North Tahoe PUD to enter into municipal water services. We did that by acquiring a number of the small, localized private water systems that were stood up here in the basin over the 20s, 30s, and 40s. 2-inch, 3-inch diameter water mains, good enough to take a shower, get your drinking water, but they do not provide the flow or the necessary storage to provide modern fire flow standards.
We have a unique community, a small full-time population, but obviously a lot of tourists and visitors, so it really expands the amount of folks that are in town at any one time. Our neighborhoods are directly up against forested land, much of which is owned by the state of California or the federal government.
The 2007 Angora fire and the 2021 Caldor fire here in the Tahoe Basin offer some eerie similarities to the tragedy that occurred more recently in Lahaina. All three fires highlight the impact robust water infrastructure has in community resiliency against wildfire. The 2007 Angora fire was a wake-up call for all of the water purveyors, and we began heavy investment in water infrastructure, a big focus on redundancy, interties, capacity, storage, emergency generators, with the understanding that a water system is a bulwark for the community against wildfire. As the fire moves down out of the wildlands, the uplands, into the urbanized environment through that wildland-urban interface, you need a robust water system to ensure that fire stays in the woods. It allows the firefighters to camp out in those neighborhoods, protect the built environment, protect those homes and commercial properties.
We definitely have to change our tactic when we're responding into an area that doesn't have fire hydrants, right? Or that we know that the flow is not adequate.
So when they arrive, they need every resource available to them immediately.
If we don't have fire hydrants to hook up to, then we can backfill, refill our water tender, hook long hose lays up to supply that sustained water supply, then we're in trouble.
I've personally experienced being on the end of that nozzle and that water supply goes out and we're done and we're waiting for the next engine to come in to shuttle water to us. And when you get so close and the water shuts off, there's no worse feeling in the world.
One of the advantages of being a special district is that we are accountable and responsible to our local population and focused on those community-driven priorities.
We know that we need the infrastructure, we need the piping in the ground, we need the fire hydrants on the corners, but the true challenge is the funding.
Our districts have been working aggressively to raise rates so that we can invest in improving our water infrastructure for fire suppression, but we need help. We only have really small rate base compared to many larger urban areas. There are programs out there in the state to help water systems meet water quality issues and water availability issues, but there are really no current funding programs to help small rural water communities improve water infrastructure for fire suppression.
Robust water infrastructure is a game changer in community resiliency against wildfire.
When we know we have an appropriate water supply, we know that we can aggressively use water and fully extinguish that very quickly. And that's the difference of catching a fire and having it turn into Washoe or Angora or the Caldor, is having that appropriate resource to fully extinguish it right away.
As local special districts, we have the tools to get the job done. What we need is help from the state and the federal government to bring resources to the table to help us get this important work done.